4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to what is a Tuesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, and also streaming live on YouTube. But right now, the YouTube shot, it looks extremely zoomed in on you, boy. You know, maybe it's just a monitor to my right, but right now this looks really zoomed in, and it caught me off guard right out of the gate. There's going to be some technical snafus today, I think, because the last 2 days, my headphone jack keeps on going in and out. It was out for the first 3 seconds of the show, and then I turned my headphones up, and then it goes back in. And when I looked at the monitor to the right, I was like, oh, boy, that is really zoomed in on you, boy. So I know I look good these days, but I don't look that good where you could just put the camera basically right up into my nose and like right underneath my eyes and all that stuff. I was just trying not to get dropped right there with some things that I were about to say. Hall of Famer Drew Pearson, the original 88. Now, don't do that. No. We're not doing that today. Zoom out. Don't be an a-hole, Samter. Zoom out. We're trying to do a professional broadcast here, and we got like this weasel Samter just zooming in. Jeez Louise. Drew Pearson going to join us coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern time. You know, I saw someone in the YouTube chat. Now I'm pissed off to start the show. I saw in the YouTube chat, someone goes like, I'm really in the mood for a Zach Gelb rant. And I'm like, it was Drunkle Sam. And I go, I don't really have anything to rant about today. I'm not livid about anything. But if Samter zooms in one more GD time, I may use a button that's going to eject him out of the studio, and Stu's basically just going to walk on over and pick up the body that will be on the floor after Samter flies out of that chair. And a little guy flying out of the chair, be like, wee, wee, fly right out of the chair, smack. Of course, my headphones just went out right there, and then Stu would have to scoop him up and pick him off the floor. All righty, we got a whole lot to do today. We are a really serious, super serious sports talk radio show. So let's stop all the shenanigans right now. Because if we have any more shenanigans today, we don't need to have any more meetings around here. Maybe we'll have a meeting after the show. But anyway, all kidding aside, the coaches poll did come out yesterday. Texas is the number one team in the country, according to the coaches. I wasn't sure who necessarily was going to be one. If you said, Zach, make a guess, make an educated guess, I would have thought it would have been Penn State. But Texas being number one, I don't have any problem with. I'm going to be fascinated this year by what's going to be viewed as success for Texas. And the more and more we talk about this, and I usually am fair, I am usually someone that I'm not just going to crush a team if they don't win a national championship just for the sake of it. But we're starting to get to this point with Texas where the hype is so large, not only on the quarterback in Arch Manning, but on the coach in Steve Sarkisian. I can't deal with these headphones today. They're in and out, and then I turn them back up. And I don't think they're the headphones. I think there's something wrong with the jack. And I hate to bitch about this on the air, but it's really distracting when I'm speaking, and now I can't hear myself. And I then know that in about 10 seconds, it's going to pop back up, and I'm going to have hearing damage. That's what's going to end up happening here. Because right now, I faintly hear myself. And then I'm going to turn it up slightly, and it doesn't get any up, and there it pops right back in, and now it's going in and out. So there's something just horribly wrong with this jack. But anyway, I am a tough player here. I play through pain. I play through injury. I'm not going to check myself out of a show. I won't be like Anthony Richardson when you get a little winded in the game and you go, hey, Coach Steichen, I got to tap myself out. That's not going to happen. But anyway, as I was saying with Texas, is what a first 5 minutes of this very fine national radio program that we have for you. The hype is so large surrounding Sark. It's so large surrounding Arch, and also the money that they invested in this team. They are one of the teams that it's national championship or bust. Where we were the last 2 years with Quinn Ewers being good but not great, Quinn Ewers winning a Big 12 championship in Texas's final season in the Big 12 and their debut season in the SEC. They make the SEC championship game. They were the lone SEC team remaining in the Final Four when it was Texas up against Ohio State, a game that Texas easily could have won, and they needed better play calling at the end from Steve Sarkisian. On the other side, we know it was Penn State up against Notre Dame. But you look at Texas now just getting that number one spot in the coaches poll. We'll see what the first AP top 25 is. Even though people are starting to diminish these things, it shows you where the expectation for Texas is. Like if they were 2, if they were 3, if they were 4, maybe I would be sitting here and I'd be saying, all right, just get to a national championship game this year. But you have to win a national championship this year. That's kind of where we're heading and the direction that we're trending for the Texas Longhorns, especially with how close they've been the last 2 seasons, and they've been knocking on the door, and that wasn't even intended because we were all kind of sitting there waiting and hoping when we were going to see Arch Manning. So that is the first reaction when you look at this coaches poll is it's Texas in at the number one spot. And once again, these headphones, I wish you could hear what I'm hearing right now, because right now I hear nothing. And then in about 45 seconds, it blasts back in, and then it goes away. So Texas in at number 1. In at number 2, Ohio State. I don't think that this is unfair. Like, I saw Hickey say that it's criminal that Ohio State is 2. Julian Sand, I think, is going to be a good quarterback. They do have the best offensive player, or actually not the best offense. They have the best player, period, in the country, in Jeremiah Smith. And even though Ryan Day is not this great coach, and he hasn't beat Michigan in the last 4 years, and last year it looked like it was crashing and burning down at the end of the season, then he had a great redemption spot. Ryan Day, even I could say, is a very good coach. And right now you kind of look at the landscape in college football. If I ask people, who's the best coach in college football, people would say probably Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart's Georgia team is in at 4, and I don't think Kirby Smart, even though it's well-deserved that he is now viewed as the best coach in college football, I don't think it's set in stone that he's the best coach in college football for the foreseeable future. For example, the last decade before he retired, whenever you'd have those top 10 coaches polls, whether it was the NFL or whether it was in college football, right? For the NFL forever, it was Bill Belichick. For college football forever, it was Nick Saban. Well, now with Nick Saban out of the sport for 2 years, Kirby Smart takes that spot, but Georgia was supposed to be on an Alabama trajectory, right? They won back-to-back national championships. They haven't won another national championship in the last 2 years, with Michigan and Ohio State taking the baton and running with it in the Big Ten. So if Georgia wants to get back into that Alabama status, they got to go win a national championship this year. So Texas was 1, Ohio State was 2, Georgia is 4. Personally, I actually, I'm okay with Texas being 1. I think Penn State should have, before the season started, leapfrogged Ohio State. I thought Penn State should have either been 1 or 2. And if you listen to this show, you know me. I am not a big fan of Penn State. I am not a big supporter of their head football coach. I think the quarterback who individually I could root for, Drew Aller, from where he's from in Ohio. I think it's called Medina or Medina. I always mess this up. But I had a former person at my sleepaway camp who used to coach college football, who used to coach high school football there. Unfortunately, he's no longer alive, a man by the name of Dan Sherman. And his son actually has developed a relationship. I think Caleb is somewhere in high school right now, in Medina or Medina. I always forget how to pronounce it. And, Drew Aller played at that high school. So Drew Aller, to me, though, even with all that being said, he is a good quarterback, but I keep on being told he's great, right? He could be like Josh Allen. He has number 1 overall pick potential. I've now been told this for the last 2 years. And if you look back at last season, what were the 2 best moments for Penn State? It was probably the second half up against USC, right, who is not a good football team a year ago. And then also it was, and this is why I call them Participation State University, because Penn State was getting praised out the wazoo for just being in it up against Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. Where if you really watch that game, and Drew Aller did play well in that game, they were on that seesaw ride where they would be down by 14, and the other seesaw would kick in, they'd be down by 7, then down by 14, then down by 7. So technically, when you look at the score, they were in the game, but I never thought they were actually going to win the game. And now when you have Allen and when you have Singleton back in that backfield, along with Drew Aller, the defense is going to be really good, even though they lost Abdul Carter offensively. On the offense side of the ball, they lost one of the better playmakers in the country last year in Tyler Warren. This is a now or never season for Penn State. And then I'll get to 5 and 6. I thought Notre Dame was going to be in the top 5. I think Notre Dame is a very good team entering the season. And Notre Dame is on my short list of national championship contenders. The adversity that they fought through last year, and then not only did they make the college football playoff, because let's be real, in a 12-team college football playoff, it is set up for Notre Dame to get in. You have 1 or 2 losses every year. Notre Dame is going to make that. Now, when you lose to Northern Illinois early on in the season, you couldn't afford another loss. But to Notre Dame's credit, they didn't let that crash their party. And then when they got into the college football playoff, they made the most out of that opportunity, not only beating Indiana, but then getting a big boy victory up against Georgia. And then they went up against Penn State, and they get the 3 college football playoff victories where they beat Penn State. And then in the national championship game, outside of the first drive of the game, after that, it was a slow start. They get back in it, can't get off the field on third down and long. Jeremiah Smith down the right sideline, and then boom, the game is over. But I look at Notre Dame this season, even though they lost one of the better defensive players in the country in Xavier Watts, that secondary still looks unbelievable. We always know Notre Dame is built well in the trenches. Jeremiah Love, when I was talking to him last year, they didn't go, and I know he wasn't always healthy, but they didn't give him the ball like how Boise State gave the ball to Ashton Genty. Right? They were dividing up some carries. And I know Price is an excellent second running back. And outside of Allen and Singleton, he may be the second best running back in the country in terms of, like, we know who the star is. That's Jeremiah Love. And then who's the secondary back. But you look at Penn State this year, and I know they haven't, or Notre Dame this year, I know they haven't announced a quarterback yet. But I think it's going to be Carr. And if it is Carr, well, he's better than what Riley Leonard was last year. And Riley Leonard was really good at rushing the football, but his arm was all over the place. So I look at Notre Dame, and then they had Sam Hartman 2 years ago who was a good quarterback. I think Carr obviously has, I'm going to use the P word again, potential to easily be better than both of those guys at Notre Dame. So in a weird way, Notre Dame actually may be better this year than the team that went to the national championship game last year, but it also doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be back in the national championship game this season. I'll tell you, when I go through the rest of this coaches poll, I was surprised this team was 6. And I think you've already heard me say, oh, they're a very good team. I have not called a single team great yet in college football. And this is something going into this year, and we saw it at times last year, even though Oregon during the regular season was undefeated. Right? I don't know, and I don't think going into this season of college football, there is a great team. And last year, I still don't know if there was a great team. That's been kind of the difference now in this transfer portal era, this NIL era. Sure, you get an undefeated team like Michigan that went all the way now 3 years ago. That was a great team. But Ohio State, where they were at the end of the season last year, no one was thinking they were a great team, and they ended up winning a national championship. You look at Clemson entering this season, I think Clemson is a very good team. I think Cade Klubnik is a very good quarterback. Dabo Swinney right now on paper is either the second or third best coach in the country. So I don't know if you need to be great anymore, like an undefeated LSU or even an undefeated Michigan from a few years ago, or some of those Alabama teams under Nick Saban, or the Ohio State teams under Urban Meyer, those Florida teams under Urban Meyer, or Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart under Pete Carroll at USC. Like, I don't think you need to be at that level anymore to win a national championship. Like, will there be undefeated national champions? Sure. We just saw one 3 years ago in Michigan. But I think going into this season, there's a bunch of very good teams. And we saw that last year. You don't need to be great the way that we used to think great was in the year of what was 2024, bleeding into 2025 to win a national championship. And I look at Clemson, I just think they're good all around the board. And I look at Cade Klubnik and that pairing of Dabo Swinney, I know what to expect out of them. So I was a little bit surprised that Clemson was in at 6. I thought for sure that they would be in the top 5. And quite frankly, I thought they were going to be in the top 3. And if it wasn't in the top 3, I would have said, okay, they would have been in at 4. But after that, I think it's all up for debate. Like those 6 teams, Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Clemson, however you want to order them, I'm generally okay. If you then said who's your next team up that is not in the top 6, I would say it's Alabama. Ryan Williams, very good. That Alabama defense this year, they look like they could be great. I believe Kalen DeBoer is going to have a big season here in year number 2. And their quarterback, Simpson, who I think it's eventually going to be, Ty Simpson, I am becoming more and more of a fan of, even though I was wanting at one point in the summer to see Keelan Russell be their starting quarterback. But you look at Bama, I think Bama's going to be really good this year. Like, if you tell me Alabama's a national championship game, I wouldn't be surprised. But in at 7 was Oregon. We'll see what Dante Moore can do this year, but I think Dan Lanning gets the benefit of the doubt, at least in the regular season. And then 9 and 10. I can't wait to see how we're talking about these two teams at the end of the season in the Coaches Bowl. And at 9 was LSU, and at 10 was Miami. Mario Cristobal has a tremendous amount of pressure on him this year. It's go time. Last year you had Cam Ward. You had maybe the best quarterback in the country. And you had a golden opportunity to go win an ACC, go to the college football playoff. You didn't even make the ACC championship game. And then if you didn't make the ACC championship game, you weren't getting into the college football playoff. Now you have Carson Beck. And now for Carson Beck, it's about revitalizing his career, which is basically on life support, where a year ago, it was supposed to be booming. It was supposed to be great. He was dating a Cavender. He was at Georgia. He was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick. And now a year later, well, you lost the number 1 overall pick possibility. You're no longer at Georgia. You had to go to Miami, and you're no longer dating a Cavender. So a lot has changed for Carson Beck. So I look at Carson Beck. Him and Mario Cristobal need to restore themselves and just simply make the college football playoff. And the same can be said for Brian Kelly, who's in at 9 at LSU. You factor in Brian Kelly, even though his record has been fine at LSU, but he left Notre Dame to go win a national championship game. He did a wonderful job at Notre Dame in restoring that program for 12 seasons. But you left to go win a national championship game. And the man that replaced you, even after losing to Marshall, even after losing to NIU in 2 separate years, he has gone on to go to a national championship game and looks like he can get back there this season. Right now, Marcus Freeman is closer to winning a national championship game than Brian Kelly is, and it's not even close. And Brian Kelly had Jaden Daniels. Now he has Nussmeier, who everyone loves. Like, you got to go find a way to bare minimum make the playoff. So that was the top 10. Arizona State was in at 11. Illinois was in at 12. South Carolina in at 13. I do believe that Underwood's going to start for Michigan. They're in at 14. Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss in at 15. Rhett Lashley and Kevin Jennings of SMU in at 16. How about Florida at 17? I think that's a reminder that everyone's ready to anoint Florida with DJ Lagway. And I think he could be a really good quarterback. He could be a great quarterback. But there's still some uncertainty there for me with Billy Napier. Tennessee at 18, 19 Indiana. I know that they're going to Fernando Mendoza at quarterback. Signetti had the great debut, first year, inaugural season. Now their schedule picks up in intensity a little bit. Kansas State, Kleiman is criminally underrated in at 20. A&M with Elko at 21. Rocco Becht with Iowa State and Matt Campbell also in at 21. And then 23 is BYU. 24 is Texas Tech. And then 25 is Boise State. So no Oklahoma in that top 25. And there are big expectations on Oklahoma this season. Some people are saying they like Louisville as a dark horse in the ACC. No with Louisville. in the top 25. No Kyle Whittingham and no Baylor, too, with Utah and Baylor in the coaches poll in the top 25. And then I'll just mention it. Two other schools I'll mention. Auburn, Hugh Freeze, big year, not in the top 25. I'm surprised they actually even got 50 votes because I don't think they're going to be good this year. And then Georgia Tech, who I like with Haynes King, we're all waiting to see if they can take the next step under Brent Key. They got 27 votes in the coaches poll for the top 25. Florida State got 8. I'm a little bit surprised by that. But if the college football playoff based off the coaches poll were to start today, Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia would be your 1 through 4 seeds. Remember, if you just win your conference championship this year, the 5 highest ranked conference champions, you're in, but it doesn't guarantee you a bye. So that's 2 SEC teams, 2 Big Ten teams. Then Notre Dame would be in at 5. Clemson would win the ACC. They'd be in at 6. Oregon would be 7. Alabama would be 8. LSU would be 9. Miami would be 10. Arizona State would win the Big 12. They'll be in at 11. And then Illinois was ranked at 12, but they would be squeezed out because Boise State would be the highest ranked G5 school, and they would be in at 12. So that would lead Notre Dame, Boise State, Clemson up against Arizona State, Oregon up against Miami in the first round, and how about this 8-9 matchup? Alabama up against LSU. So those are some reactions from the first coaches poll for the top 25 for the 2025 NFL season. We'll take a timeout. We will tell you what Sean Payton had to say about his quarterback, Bo Nix, next, and we'll also examine all of those 6 quarterbacks that did go in the first 12 picks of the 2024 draft and how we think they're going to fare for this upcoming season.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So Sean Payton did an interview with Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports, and this is what he had to say about his quarterback in Bo Nix. Quote, he's going to be one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league the next 2 years, Payton said. That's what we're seeing right now. He doesn't take sacks. He's got exceptional arm strength. He threw the longest ball of 67 yards against Cincinnati. He can run. He can throw in funny body angles. So that is what Sean Payton had to say. And the main part of that, like the filet mignon of that, or if you want to go T-bone, say whatever steak you want to go with, is that he's going to be a top 4 or 5 quarterback in the league the next 2 years. This is not 5 years from now. This is not a decade from, like, he's going to go on to have a top. This is right away the next 2 years. Now, don't get me wrong. Bo Nix exceeded all expectations I had for him last season. Quite frankly, hand up, I'll admit it, right? When I'm right, I'll tell you I'm right. When I'm wrong, I'll tell you I'm wrong. I thought there was no chance he was getting picked that early as he did. You know, I remember doing a topic the day after the draft a year ago in 2024. And I remember saying, were you more surprised about Michael Penix Jr. going 8th or Bo Nix going 12th? Because what we were saying about Michael Penix Jr. before the draft is he'll work his way in the end of round 1. And people said about Bo Nix, maybe the end of round 1, but in all likelihood round 2. Well, Michael Penix Jr. ended up going 8th to Atlanta of all places. And then Bo Nix ended up going 12th to the Denver Broncos. And you look at Bo Nix, because I remember when he was at Auburn, we used to joke around, and he was up and down. We would call this guy Bo Picks. And then he goes to Oregon, and the 2-year run that he had at Oregon kind of changed the perception and the view of him, where when he was at Auburn, it was, oh my goodness gracious, this guy's a failure. Oh, this guy was not worth the hype. I know he had that incredible debut game at Auburn, but after that, it was a lot of bad play. It was a lot of turnovers. And what he did at Oregon, it was really impressive, but then it was, oh, how much of that is him and just how much was the environment and the system that he was in at Oregon? And Bo Nix goes into the NFL, where now we view this Broncos roster as this good roster, right? The defense is incredible. Offensively, though, we were talking about Denver last year as a bottom 5 roster in the league. And then in year 1, he throws 29 touchdowns. He throws for over 3,700 yards. And Bo Nix right now is looking like a heck of a first-round pick. Now, I'm not sitting there and saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I'm not sitting there and telling you that he's going to go on to win a Super Bowl. I'm not sitting there telling you that Bo Nix is even a great quarterback. But after year one, if you're a Broncos fan, especially with all these quarterbacks that you had since Peyton Manning and how dreadful they've been, it's always the one that you never think is going to pan out that does pan out. And look at the way that we're talking about Bo Nix a year later. But even with that being said, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL for the next 2 seasons, 4 or 5, just for starters, Bo Nix is not better than Patrick Mahomes. Bo Nix is not better than Josh Allen. Bo Nix is not better than Lamar Jackson. Bo Nix is not better than Joe Burrow. Right? Those are 4 names for the next 5 years, bare minimum. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow, they are set in stone as 4 of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league. And I know we're getting technical here, but Sean said it, 4 or 5. So it's not, okay, maybe it could be 6 or... No, we're looking for 4 or 5. I just gave you 4. If you go in his own draft class, would you rather have Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix? I'd rather have Jaden Daniels. You know, people could go crap on Jalen Hurts and try to take away from him. Jalen Hurts just won a Super Bowl MVP. I'd rather have Jalen Hurts. So just for starters, in the next 2 years, I don't think Bo Nix is going to be a top 4, top 5 quarterback in the league. But can he be top 10? Absolutely. Right now, I would not pen him as a top 10 quarterback in the league. But when you look at the top 10 quarterbacks in the league right now, yeah, obviously there are some guys that aren't going to move anywhere out of their spots. But then there's a guy like Matthew Stafford, who right now is in the top 10. But Matthew Stafford, how many more years is he going to play? Like, this could be Matthew Stafford's final season. My top 10 quarterbacks right now in the NFL: Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Joe Burrow, in this order: Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Matthew Stafford, C.J. Stroud, Baker Mayfield, and Jared Goff. So, like, that one spot, it's really Stafford, where there's an older guy and he could drop out. But can you tell me that Bo Nix could usurp a C.J. Stroud or a Baker Mayfield or a Jared Goff? You know, I think it's possible. You know, Justin Herbert's got to be in that conversation too. You throw Dak Prescott in that conversation. And there's other guys too. Like, who knows what happens with Cam Ward this year? Who knows how we're going to be talking about Caleb Williams or Drake May? So 4 or 5 is too rich for me. But it was very impressive what Bo Nix did last year, because he did more on the offensive side of the ball with less. For a team that, let's be real, it's been destitute at the quarterback position ever since the sheriff, number 18, walked out of that building. And let's be honest, too. Peyton Manning, at the end of his career that season, they didn't win that He had a good AFC championship game. I'll give him that. That Super Bowl, they didn't win that Super Bowl because of number 18. They won it because of Von Miller and that defense. And also Cam, who's been in the news, fighting everyone this offseason just for podcast views and clicks and all that. Also, Cam didn't jump on that football, if you may recall as well. But moving forward, and we'll take a break in just a second, for that 2024 draft class, we could see busts like right away. We are no longer in that area of waiting, patience. You look at this past draft class, there's no one yet that I'm willing to call a bust or ready to call a bust from the first round 2024 draft class of QBs. Jaden Daniels is looking like a superstar. Bo Nix just had an incredible season. J.J. McCarthy last year was not healthy. Drake May, I know the Pats stunk, but you saw talent from him with literally no offensive line, no wide receivers, and Ramondre Stevenson had a bad year last year. Bo Nix had a really good season, and Caleb Williams did some good things, but now all eyes are on him with getting Ben Johnson. And I look at all 6 of those quarterbacks, when you factor in Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix. You know, May and Penix and Caleb Williams I think this year, May, Penix, and Caleb Williams, those three, I think that they're in a range of like 8 to 10 wins. You even tell me 7, I wouldn't be shocked. But I think that they're in that ballpark of they're going to be all three of those teams, the Bears, the Patriots, and the Falcons. They're fringe playoff teams this year at best. Like Atlanta's the second team in that division. The Bears are still probably fourth in that division. The Pats are I would say, second in a crappy AFC East where it's Buffalo and it's everybody else. And maybe New England will be third if Miami gets their damn act together. The individual play, at least for me, with May, with Penix and Caleb, is paramount this year. It's not necessarily the team success. For Jaden Daniels, I think it's about consistently showing what you did last year individually. You're the same quarterback, which I believe he can. And Jaden Daniels, my favorite quarterback in that draft class. There was a reason why I was begging for the Patriots to lose every game possible to go get him. I'm happy, though, with Drake May. But with Jaden Daniels, like how Arch Manning, we asked, can he succeed this year? Can Jaden Daniels succeed this year? And I know it's not the same because Arch Manning hasn't played a full season yet. Jaden Daniels took a team from the outhouse to the penthouse, but you just made the NFC Championship game a year ago. Are the odds in your favor that you're going to make the NFC Championship game once again this season? No. So the team could regress, but his individual play can't. And then with the other two guys that are remaining, J.J. McCarthy has to make the playoffs this year. And I think J.J. McCarthy can win a playoff game with the Minnesota Vikings. And then you look at Bo Nix, it's about winning a playoff game. Like, I look at J.J. and I look at Bo Nix, even though J.J. didn't play last year. Both those guys got to go win a playoff game. For Jaden Daniels, I think you just go make the playoffs again, and I'd be okay with it. Back-to-back years making the playoffs with that organization. You know, I'm not going to crush them if they make the playoffs and lose wild card weekend. And then for Drake May, Michael Penix, and Caleb Williams, it's about getting through an entirety of the season, having me walk away saying, okay, you're a good quarterback, even if your record is 8-9. We'll come on back with the news brief. Drew Pearson, the Hall of Famer, the original 88, is going to join us at the top of the hour. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with their easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. Kyron Williams can open the season feeling good. The Pro Bowl running back and the Rams agreed to a 3-year extension. The total package of the deal, $33 million, $23 million of which is guaranteed. Teddy Bridgewater is back in. After a year as a high school coach, he's trying to return to the NFL with the 32-year-old reportedly signing with the Buccaneers. Zach Taylor said Joe Burrow and several starters will play a few series in their first preseason game against the Eagles. The Yankees went from the top spot in the AL East and now fighting for a playoff spot. They continued their slide last night in Texas, letting one get away in the 9th before Josh Young won it with a homer in the 10th. It dropped the Yanks 10 games under 500 since June 13th. Each loss becomes a bigger weight on Aaron Boone.
Doesn't matter. We got to weigh on us, stress. We got to win. Period. We know that. So nobody cares how stressful it is, or that's all just noise, excuses, whatever. We got to go play better and we got to win. And we know that.
Yanks come back with Will Warren tonight against Nathan Eovaldi. I'm Rich Hacker.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
I was on quite an interesting text chain yesterday. So right as the show was ending, I saw that Maggie Gray tweeted out, just got a call from someone pretending to be from Chase Bank. It said Chase Bank on the caller ID. To verify, it was actually Chase. They told me to put their number into Google, and it brought up a legit location in NYC. They said they were trying to verify that Maggie was sending over $4,000. So that was the whole genesis of this text chain that I ended up forming between myself, Maggie Gray, and my father. Now, some people be like, oh, why'd you put your dad in this? Well, my dad got a similar call over the weekend. And this is such a dad move. He knew it was spam, and he took great pride in stumping the scammer because he was asking them for things, and even though they knew his name and some of his information, they weren't to give him whatever information that he was giving them. So then my dad sent an email, and he sent an email to Chase telling them what happened. And for some reason, he BCC'd me on the email so I would see it. And I don't know, Stu. Like, I guess because we grew up more in the spam call era, where it's just so frequent now on mobile devices. That happens. I hang up, or I don't even pick up, and I don't think twice about it, right? But my dad wanted to send an email about it. And quite frankly, can I just ask a question, Stu? What is the email going to do?
Right.
So my dad, he sees this tweet that I sent him yesterday from Maggie, and he's literally telling Maggie, he sent a text. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's 13 lines explaining what happened to him, then screen grabbed the number that called him. Maggie said, I got a call from the same number, and they're going back and forth over this. So I was just amazed by it. So anyway, I guess the spam was on my mind. And I went to bed last night, and I had a dream. Don't worry, my father nor Maggie were in the dream. But I had a dream that I got robbed, and I was at a train station, and they took my MacBook Pro, and I guess I didn't realize them, for whatever reason, take the backpack off my shoulders. It was a weird dream. So you may be saying, well, Zach, what does this have to do with a spam call? Well, during the break, remember, I had a dream that my MacBook was stolen last night. During the break, I get a spam call. This call is to authorize a payment of $1,499 for your recent order of an Apple MacBook Pro on your Amazon account. If you don't authorize this payment, please press 1 to speak to our customer service representative. What are the odds of that? That I had a dream last night about my MacBook getting stolen. It's not. It's right here. And then I get a spam call today after I just had this whole text exchange yesterday with my dad and Maggie Gray about Chase, spam calls. And I get a spam call basically telling me that I ordered a MacBook, which I didn't. It would be really funny if that actually was not a spam call. It clearly was. And then in my dream last night, because I got my MacBook Pro stolen, that I ordered in my sleep a MacBook Pro. Like, I just went to my phone, did the Face ID, still knocked out, like passed out, and I somehow ordered it off Amazon. That really would have been something. Do you guys do anything funky in your sleep? Like, do you talk in your sleep? Are you guys snorers?
I never thought I was a snorer, but apparently I've turned into one.
Your wife has been saying that you're getting a little noisy in the bedroom?
Yeah, me too.
That used to mean a lot of different things a few years ago than it's snoring now.
No, now that I'm 45, that just means snoring.
Yeah, you're a snorer still?
I'm a snorer too, and I think I toss and turn 20 times a night or something like that.
Are you a kicker in your sleep?
I don't think I'm a kicker. I just move from side to side.
Yeah. This bachelor party that I was on, we were all having breakfast the next day. Like every morning we made eggs and bacon. We made a bunch of breakfast sandwiches too. Actually, it was some potatoes were even made. Some hash browns in the morning as well. And everyone had their coffee. And these two guys were sharing a room. There was 2 beds in the room. And one of them goes, yo, Mike, you talk in your sleep? And it wasn't anything crazy that was actually said in his sleep. I forget what it was, but then I heard, I think he said today's going to be a great day or something like that. It was something cheesy. So that was pretty much that.
As long as it's not I will kill you in your sleep. Or some weird creepy stuff.
Yeah, that would be creepy. I think I only snore, or I'm told I only snore if I'm drinking. Like if I am completely sober, something Stu is never. I am not snoring.
You should smell the control room right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just cush.
I thought I smelled some whiskey, honestly, in there. I wasn't smelling that.
I can
that
barely
green.
see you through the fog. Man.
Yeah, there is a haze. Stu has an aura. It's just a haze around him. Yeah, let's come clean here. The reason why that TriCaster broke and why we were off YouTube for a month and a half, it had nothing to do. I have to admit, I don't like to lie to the listening audience. Work wanted me to lie. My boss, David Mayernick, wanted me to lie. Stu was trying to pay me not to say the truth on the air. It had nothing to do with the TriCaster broke, and it was just fried. It was because Stu was so fried, and a certain device that he uses, he may have spilled, and all the water, the dirty water, just splashed all over the TriCaster, and Stu basically broke the TriCaster. That's what happened. So, Stu, I apologize, even though you're looking like Rob Lowe today. I know that's on an NFL shield. But what is that on your hat?
It's the U.S. men's national team, United States soccer team.
Oh, my God. All right, well, at least you're being patriotic, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
You're breaking the TriCaster, but you're being patriotic. And now we've implemented a new policy here. Stu can't bring any of his paraphernalia into the studio because he broke the last system. By the way, the Defensive Player of the Week is brought to you by the Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. This week's player is Brewers pitcher Quinn. Is this Priester?
Priester, yes.
Priester. In last night's 3-1 win over the Braves, Priester allowed just 1 run on 2 hits and struck out 4 over 7 innings. In doing so, he lowered his ERA on the year to 3.15. We will push back a news brief because I wasn't expecting to be talking about a dream that I had and spam calls between Chase Bank and my father and Chase Bank and Maggie Gray. And then a dream that I had where I got a MacBook stolen for me. And then I get a spam call about a purchase I made on a MacBook, which I didn't. So I wasn't expecting to do all those things in that segment, right? That wasn't on the rundown, Sam, there.
It was not on the rundown, but more concerning for me is the fact that we know that our computers and everything are listening to us. We know that, like, Alexa listens to us. But it's one thing to hear our speech, but now that it's reading our minds, apparently. Yeah. It's reading our dreams. Like, this is getting creepy for me.
Well, now I don't think I talk in my sleep, but now I wonder if last night I was like, hey, Siri, purchase a MacBook. And now my Siri just went off, so now I'm going to get all these MacBook purchases. It's not that difficult to do so. And also now with Apple Pay, all it takes is one errant click in the middle of the night, and boom, I'm making a purchase that I didn't want to make.
I set up like 2-factor authentication for all of my Google purchases or whatever else.
Yeah,
otherwise I'm going to click it by mistake. I had to literally walk around my house to every one of my Alexa devices because my daughter's name is Alex.
Oh,
so
boy.
Before we decided officially that was going to be her name, I had to walk around to say Alex, 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 and see if it woke up my Alexas, and it didn't, luckily.
Alex, go to bed. I don't want to, sir. Alex, drink some milk. I'm not in the mood for milk. I'm lactose intolerant. All righty, we'll take a timeout. When we come on back, the original 88, Drew Pearson, the Pro Football Hall of Famer, he is going to join us. We'll get his thoughts on CeeDee Lamb. We'll get his thoughts on George Pickens. We'll get his thoughts on Dak Prescott. And maybe, I think I'll ask him about it. Maybe we'll talk about Micah Parsons with the Pro Football Hall of Famer, the original 88, Drew Pearson, next on the Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network, Sirius XM 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, and always streaming live on YouTube. Let's welcome in one of our favorites. He is the original number 88. He is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which it's always nice to say that. And that, of course, is the Hall of Famer in Drew Pearson. Drew, appreciate the time as always. How you been?
I've been good, Zach. Just returning from enshrinement weekend, and when you go through that, and leave that, you're still walking on high, and you're still excited about being around all the guys. So it was a great weekend, and I'm proud of the class we just inducted.
Yeah, after all those years of waiting, now to be a member of the fraternity and have some trips to Canton and be able to enjoy it when it's not just all about you and, are you going to get in? And then you get in and then you have your incredible day. What is that like to see other people, right, finally get that call to the Hall after knowing how many years you had to wait and how difficult that sometimes can be?
Yeah, it's pretty cool because everybody that goes in has a story, whether they waited a while or they got in on the first ballot or whatever. Every Hall of Famer has a story. My story is that I waited 38 years to get in. That's why I go back every year. Everybody asks me, Drew, you coming to the enshrinement this year? I say, hey, I got a condo in Canton. I'm coming back every year, okay? You can't keep me out. I'll pay taxes if I have to in Canton. But no, everybody, Zach, has their own story. And when we get together, it's so cool because a lot of the guys are older, and we got a lot of pride. And all of us be getting up like this and, and walking like that. And, but when we're around each other, it's okay because we're all like that, And so it's a great feeling to be around all the Hall of Famers, and I'm just proud to be part of that.
With all the legends in one room and there for a weekend, who's the one guy that when you sit down and you're looking around that you just go, I can't believe that I'm in the same fraternity as that guy, just wondering?
Well, there's a lot of guys, but the guy that I always notice, the best part of the whole weekend is the Hall of Fame luncheon, where it's just Hall of Famers there. And we all sit in our team groups, Cowboys here, the Steelers there. And I tapped Tony Dorsett the other day and said, man, Tony, no wonder we didn't beat those Steelers. Look at all those Hall of Famers they got. The whole defense was over there. But the guy that stands out to me every time I see him, and there's respect I give him, and this is hard for a receiver to give this defensive back so much respect, and that's Mel Blount with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He just stands out, and everybody, when they see him for the first time, they're in awe because he's so big. He's 6'4", and he weighed 205, ran a 4.5 40, played in that steel curtain defense, and so I have much respect for him, so it's always good to see him. The other one is Joe Green, the legendary Joe Green. I'm here in the Dallas area. Joe Green is from this area. I see him a lot and participate a lot in his charitable events and things like that. But he's still a legend. He still stands out amongst all the other legends. And it's pretty cool to see him. And I keep talking about these Steelers, man. Don't tell nobody, all right?
Yeah, the legendary Hall of Famer Drew Pearson, the original 88, here with us. So we take a look to next year. Clearly, Drew Brees is going to get on his first try. Larry Fitzgerald's going to get on his first try. I think Frank Gore will get in through time, but not in his first try. I think Jason Witten will get in, just not on his first try. Phillip Rivers is eligible, and then Eli Manning will see his second year of eligibility. Where do you stand on the Hall of Fame status for Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning? Just wondering.
They're going to get in. All they have to do is just wait their turn. We inducted Antonio Gates, and so there was a lot of Charger fans there and all that, and he spoke highly, of his quarterback getting in, Rivers, and the crowd went wild with that. But just wait your turn. You're going to get in, and the thing is, while you're waiting, don't criticize the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because when doing that, you criticize the players that are in there, all right? And so you might want to criticize the process. I've done that, but don't criticize the Hall of Famers. Don't criticize if a guy goes in ahead of you. Like if your receiver goes in, he's definitely a Hall of Famer. So what I was saying, yeah, if he's a Hall of Famer, then I must be one too. So just wait your turn and hope that the good Lord gives you health at that time so you can appreciate the opportunity.
The Pro Football Hall of Famer Drew Pearson is here with us. All right, let's get to the Cowboys. You know where we're starting this one off with. The last few years, there was drama around CeeDee Lamb, drama around Dak Prescott. Both of them eventually got their new contracts. Now it's a different level with Micah Parsons, with him requesting a trade. When you saw all that did go down on Friday and then the back and forth with him and Jerry Jones, just how did you react to it?
Well, unfortunately, I reacted like this is the typical situation, for the Dallas Cowboys. Here we go again, And what's unfortunate about that, why I say that, is because the Philadelphia Eagles aren't going through things like that. They're not talking about extensions and holdouts and things like that. The Washington Redskins, Commodores, whatever you want to call them, they're not dealing with that. They're getting ready for the season. And the thing that I worry about when you have a disgruntled player that's a key player on your roster, you don't want it to infiltrate the locker room, okay? You understand he's got to take care of his business, all right? Let him do that the best way he thinks is the best way to do that. But don't become a locker room lawyer and start talking about it to your teammates and making them a part of your situation and that type of thing, because they got to get ready. They appreciate you and understand the position, because maybe they have been in that position, or maybe they will be in that position one day. So they let you take care of that business. But what I worry about is when it infiltrates the locker room and becomes a conversation in the locker room instead of how we're going to beat the Redskins, how we're going to beat the Eagles, and things like that.
Yeah, and I think the players, they've been rallying around Micah Parsons. A lot of them have been posting profile pictures with him. I think that this is more so a Jerry Jones issue, where the player is finally starting to fight back when, Jerry says, the chants were louder for CD last year, or Jerry doesn't want to talk to Micah Parsons' agent, or some of the other things, the way that this is going down. Because I said the same thing with Dak. It makes no sense to make him wait because the price is only going up. The same thing's happening here with Micah Parsons.
Yeah, it is. But the thing with Parsons, he's under contract, okay? So the Jerry has the upper hand in this situation. Now, he can talk about trade and he can hold out, but there's only one game, okay? And, you play NFL football, you have to be on a team, man. So he's under contract, and that's the number one thing. It doesn't give him that much leverage simply because he's under a contract. And so Jerry Jones is playing that leverage on his side. And I don't know where these negotiations are going, but it's going to get done. The problem I have is the conversation. Every time I pick up the newspaper, and I do read the newspaper, Zach, I know you're online every day. I go out there. I can't wait to get that newspaper when it's thrown. Sometimes I go out there and I catch it before it hits the ground.
Hopefully you catch it.
Oh, absolutely. I usually spike it after I catch it, but hopefully I catch it. But, you just want to stay out of the headlines with this kind of info. I don't mind the Cowboys being in the headlines. People want to talk about the Cowboys, the franchise, the situations we've been in, some of the great players, the owner, he's a Hall of Famer. They want to criticize a Hall of Famer. A lot of guys aren't even have that status, but you got to give him credit for what he's accomplished. But the Cowboys are an easy target. But the thing is, people say, well, we're talking about the Cowboys again, but they always talk about it. We don't ask the cameras to come here. We didn't ask you, Zach, to have me on the show. You asked me. Mm-hmm. So that's the way it is. The cameras come and the Cowboys become a part of another story outside the realm of their training camp, their locker room. No.
But the thing is, though, no owner speaks more than Jerry Jones. Like most of the other owners, you don't hear from them. So they do also invite that attention as well. And people have talked to us. I'm curious your thoughts on it. There's a belief that the Cowboys' priority number one is really just to be in the news. It's to be creating drama. And people think that's more how they run that team instead of trying to put the best team out there to win football games. How do you respond to that? Does that sound crazy to you, or do you see some of it with how much drama there's been the last few years?
Yeah, it sounds crazy. It's actually an insult. It's insult to those professional football players. It's an insult to a guy like C.D. Lamb, who just signed last season, had $38 million, signing bonus. It's an insult to these professionals. That is not the reason. These guys work hard. They compete hard. They want to win just like anybody else in the league. We just have an owner that is out front more so than anybody else. He's been doing that for years, so it's nothing new. We all should learn how to deal with it by now. And I think the players, within the organization, and even the coaches that came through, even the current coach, Schottenheim, they all learned eventually how to deal with it. And you let him do his thing because we got to do our thing. And then you also got to understand, we are the Dallas Cowboys. You either love us or you hate us. And most of the time, because of where we are in our situation, there's a lot of hate out there for the Dallas Cowboys. And a lot of people are wallowing in the fact that the Cowboys have this long tenure now of not winning playoff games, not getting – I played 11 seasons, Zach. I played in 7 NFC championship games.
Man.
So they're living off of our foundation, off the 90s foundation, their legacy. And when we got together, Schottenheimer is really trying to bridge the gap between the legends and the current team. He invited us all out to OTAs, and we got a chance to meet with him and meet with the players and in our position. He's invited us out to training camp. We got to pay our own way, of course.
well, that's.
But we're invited. But he's trying to bridge that gap.
Yeah, I will say that's something that I thought Brian Schottenheimer did. I don't know how he's going to be as a coach, but I thought what he did yesterday. Micah said what he said. Jerry said what he said. And then he said, I'm not taking any questions about Micah. I'm not answering it. Try to nip that distraction in the bud, I thought was a good approach, and that was really professional in the way that I look at it. But let's get back onto the field with the Cowboys, because everything we're talking about is really off the field stuff. You look at the wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb is a top 3 wide receiver in football. They add in George Pickens. George Pickens sometimes is his own worst enemy. What do you think that duo could be, and what advice would you give to George Pickens, as sometimes there's going to be games where the Cowboys are going to be winning and he's not going to have the greatest stat line in the world?
Yeah, the advice I'd give him, look at the guy on the other side. What is this, 3 straight years of over 100 catches, 1,000 yards, all pro, and all that kind of stuff. You'll get opportunities, and we need to take a little pressure. I'm glad they went and got Pickens. Pickens needed a change of scenery. Mike Tomlin up there in Pittsburgh, he's a dominant type of figure, If you're not doing it his way, he's going to let you know. And a lot of players take offense to that. But he's a great addition. And the thing is, it's going to take a lot of pressure off CD. Look what CD has done with the double coverage that he gets each and every time. It's a third down situation. And he's been durable handling that. So he'll be able to now, recognize the defense, recognize the single coverage, and even when he makes a hit or catch, he's only getting hit by one guy that's covering him instead of double coverage, getting hit by 2 guys, which takes adds wear and tear on your body. But he's another weapon for Dak Prescott, and that's what we needed. We've been losing players. Cooper, Schultz, Pollard. Losing people on offense. Zach Martin retired. We lost our center 2 years ago, went to Valdez, went to the Redskins. So, we need to start putting some people around Dak Prescott so that he can have success and our offense can have success.
Where's your belief level in that quarterback with what they've done this offseason? I know you need your health, and even Jerry Jones will point that out when talking about some of these injuries of players that they paid. But if Dak is healthy, what do you think Dak will do on the football field this year?
I think Dak will do just well. I think he's got a lot to prove, and try to get through the season, first of all, healthy and not miss any games. And that would be a big thing in itself. But the best way to take advantage of Dak's skills, I think you got to have a good running game. All right. You got to be able to give the defense something else to look at than Dak Prescott throwing the ball dropping back 7 yards and throwing the football downfield. We got to have the defense respect our running game. We had a decent running game last season. We averaged 4 yards a carry. Donald went over 1,000 yards. I think we even averaged 100 yards rushing a game. But it wasn't a threat in that running game that make the defense really think about you, make the defense really prepare for you. So Dak has to have the weapons around him, just like any other quarterback, to be successful. And the last 2 years, the weapons have been depleted instead of added to the offense. And it showed, in Dak's performance and the offense's performance. So I think what we did in the offseason, the running back, I'm looking at the running back situation. We got that old Philadelphia Eagle guy in here. Maybe you can give some insight on the Eagles. Miles Sanders is with us, and Javonte Williams and Jaden Blue. So give these guys a chance to see what they can do in this offense. And the thing, again, another thing with Dak is Schottenheimer's been here, okay? He's a voice that's been in Dak's ear for a while now.
Sure.
This is not, even though he's the head coach now, this is not a new voice coming in. So Dak doesn't have to learn this system and terminology and stuff like that since we got a new head coach. So he's very familiar with Schottenheimer, and Schottenheimer's very familiar with him. So they'll do the things that they have to do to take advantage of Dak's assets. And hopefully that'll be enough to get this offense going.
Yeah, I like Jaden Blue. I think he's going to be a good player. I think Miles Sanders, I don't know if he'll tell you this, but I think if everyone's being honest, that Philadelphia offensive line definitely does help out with the maulers that they have up front. But before we let you run the Pro Football Hall of Famer, the original 88 in Drew Pearson, going back to the Micah stuff, I don't know if they'll get a deal done this offseason. If it bleeds into next year, I think they could franchise tag him and then find a way to still get a deal done. I do still think a deal will get done and they won't trade him. Is that kind of your line of thinking on this, that even though he requested a trade, you still anticipate him to be in the long-term future plans of the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, I really do. I really think Mr. Jones will get the deal done eventually. And the thing about it, Zach, 1 year, my last year in the league, I was holding out, okay? But I made every practice. I was in training camp. I didn't miss any meetings, any practice, or anything. I had my reps with my quarterback. And then when camp ended, when we got back to Dallas, I said, that's it. I'm not playing this season unless I get a new contract. And what I did during that period in training camp is two things. Number one, I continue to get myself ready. So when we do sign the contract, I'm ready to go. And I had my reps with the quarterback. And I also showed the team and the owners, Tex Schramm and those guys, the value of me with the football team. You take me out of there, where's the team going to be? So I talk all that noise in training camp, and if they don't sign me, I'm not going to start the regular season and all that. We get back to Dallas. We're sitting in a meeting room. There's a knock on the door. It's Tex Schramm. He sticks his head in the door. He points to me. Pearson, come here. I go with him. We go outside to the weight room. He says, you want to get this deal done? I said, yes, sir, I want to get it done. I go back to the meeting room. That night, Zach, the deal was done. And it was done to my satisfaction. But the key was that I didn't miss any training camp time. I was ready to go. And that's what I worry about Parsons. Walking around in a T-shirt and a hoodie and all that kind of stuff while your teammates are working, you're not getting yourself ready. You want the money, but you still got to be a player once you get the money. So why are you going to miss time in practice? This is your profession. Don't take away from your opportunities in your profession to get better. And you know how brutal a season could be, especially against, for a defensive end, a player like Micah Parsons. Sometimes he'll get double teamed. Most of the time he'll get double teamed. Every offense will know where Micah Parsons is going to line up on defense. So, I don't like that approach not to be, he's there, he's in meetings and he's a body, but to get ready, man, I was running those routes and stuff like that. So once I agreed to the contract, I was ready to go. I didn't have to get in shape and get into that football frame of mind that these guys are now dealing with these holdouts.
It's an interesting perspective because with everything that transpired, I think most people are on the side of Micah Parsons and they've been anti-Jerry Jones. To hear that you're basically frustrated with the approach of Micah Parsons, it is fascinating to me having your player background and being a guy that's in the Pro Football
Only in the sense that you got to take care of I'm not saying about the business side. He got to do what he has to do. I don't know about that situation. I don't want to get in his pocket, okay? Let him deal with that. But I'm just saying in preparation for the upcoming season, you still got to play once you sign that contract. And plus, you're still under contract. So don't let that stop you from preparing for the upcoming season, for the games that the rigors of the season and all that kind of stuff. You have to prepare for that. And now if you're not doing that with your reps on the field, maybe that could be somewhat detrimental to you. And like I said, when I was holding out, I ran every route. I made every meeting. I did everything I needed to do to prepare me. So when we did agree with the contract, I was ready to go. And that's what I'm saying. I just hope he's ready to go because we're going to agree to something. He's going to be a Dallas Cowboy. Okay? He ain't going nowhere. All right? They might have let some other guys go, but he's not going to let Micah Parsons go. He's a fan favorite. He's a favorite in that locker room. The teammates like him. He's a leader. You don't let those kind of players go. And if you let them go, especially don't let them go to the Eagles or the Redskins or something like that. And I don't care if they give us the whole house. Still don't let them go to there. Okay?
Drew, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much. You be well. Appreciate you doing this.
You got it, Zach. Anytime.
There you go. The original 88, Drew Pearson, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. A lot to unpack there. We'll do so on the other side. We'll continue the conversation with Jerry Jones, Micah Parsons, and the perspective from one Drew Pearson when we come on back after these short messages.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
We have news that just came down from the NFL, and it has to do with the Minnesota Vikings. This was expected. The NFL has announced wide receiver Jordan Addison has been suspended without pay for the first 3 games of the 2025 regular season for violating the NFL's substance of abuse policy. Addison is permitted to participate in all training camp activities, including preseason games, without restrictions. So the Vikings, who have a very talented football team and are obviously going to be in the news with their new quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, as he's healthy now, are not going to have a weapon for the first 3 games of the season. They'll still have Aaron Jones, right? They still have Justin Jefferson, but there will be no Jordan Addison for the first 3 games of the season. And the Vikings' first 3 games of the season, they are not necessarily cupcakes. You're at Chicago on Monday night to open up the season. Chicago's a fringe playoff team this year. Then you're playing the Falcons, who are a fringe playoff team. And then, how great is that going to be? The 3rd game of the season. Vikings and Bengals. That's Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase going up against one another. So, Bears and Falcons and Bengals, all 3 of them, they go win. But now without having Addison, they could still easily win all 3 of those games. You could also lose all 3 of those games, too. I am optimistic, though, about this season with the Minnesota Vikings. They do have a tough schedule. After that, they play Pittsburgh, Cleveland. They have a bye week, and this is where it really picks up. Listen to this stretch. In October through early November, they play Philly. They're at the Chargers on a short week on a Thursday night. They're then at Detroit. They then play Baltimore. That's a tough 4-game stretch. Philly, at the Chargers, at the Lions, and then home against Baltimore. And then the rest of their schedule, Chicago, at Green Bay, at Seattle, the Commanders. Didn't Drew Pearson call them the Commodores? That was funny. Hold it. At Dallas, the Giants. They play the Lions, obviously, again, in division, and they wrap up the season with the Green Bay Packers. The North is going to be very tough. You look at all 4 of those teams could be playoff teams. You got the Lions, you got the Packers, you got the Vikings, and then obviously the Chicago Bears as well. So Jordan Addison suspended for 3 games. Now we'll have to wait and see what the NFL does with Rashee Rice. That's also something that we're waiting on. He was sentenced to 30 days in jail and 5 years of probation for his role in a high-speed multi-car crash in Dallas. So we are waiting to see what the NFL will do with him. But we know that the NFL, as that just did come down from the Vikings, and the NFL has suspended Jordan Addison for 3 games. Real quickly, reaction to Drew Pearson with us. My biggest takeaway is I think most of us, me included, think that Micah Parsons is the winner here over Jerry Jones. Drew Pearson, though, had a different perspective where he mentioned you're under contract. Okay, Micah, you're showing up, but you're holding in and you're just walking around and you're not really doing thing. I'm not really concerned about the shape of Micah Parsons heading into the season. He looks like he's in good enough shape for me. But that was really the first anti-Micah perspective that we heard on this, where maybe I've read this wrong. I don't think I have. But really, ever since Friday and then the follow-up on Saturday from Jerry Jones in the press conference, or the media availability that he had, I think most people look at that and say, okay, Micah's looking better here than Jerry Jones. So what did you make of that, Samter and Stu, where that's really the first voice that I heard of this that is more pro Jerry Jones than actually Micah Parsons?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely part of it. But, he seems like he's kind of walking a company line a little bit. You don't want to upset Jerry Jones too much. But he's not wrong that maybe Micah is making this too personal, that Micah might be infiltrating the locker room a little bit too much, right? You see guys changing their Twitter profiles to Micah to show support for Micah. Yeah. He wants his money. Nobody will ever blame him for wanting to get his money. But if he becomes a distraction and hurts the team because of that, that's when it turns from him being the hero who's getting screwed to being the guy who's screwing his team.
Yeah, but first off, my expectations are that the Cowboys are going to be a middle-of-the-road team this year. If you tell me they make the playoffs, okay, 7 seed. If they don't, I'm expecting them more to miss the playoffs than make the playoffs. But the part on that is, if we're going to hold Micah to that standard, doesn't Jerry have to be held to the same standard? I know he's not playing on the field, but who's really creating the distractions here? I don't think it's Micah. I think Micah was kind of laying low, giving this team every chance to get a deal done, and it was Jerry who was not calling his agent back. It was Jerry who was saying, the chants for CeeDee Lamb were louder. It was Jerry who was saying, just because you pay a player doesn't mean that they're going to be healthy, where you talked about the games that Micah missed last year and that Dak missed last year. It was Jerry who said he doesn't know the name of the agent. So I think Micah was playing this the right way, and he was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And yes, they did have that meeting in March. And I'll say this correctly today. I think that Jerry left that meeting where he thought that the I's just needed to be dotted and the T's just needed to be crossed. We went to a break yesterday, and Samter goes, were you trying to be tongue-in-cheek? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you said the I's needed to be crossed and the T's needed to be dotted. And I said, I did? I go, that's news to me. So I guess I must have had a little boo-boo yesterday, and I must have misspoke. But I think Jerry left that meeting in March thinking that the deal was basically done. It was on the 2-yard line and just needed to be pushed across the goal line, where Micah may have felt that as well, that, we had more extensive talks than I were expecting, but it was after the fact that Micah, and we don't know what was said in that meeting, said to Jerry, you need to talk to my agent. And that's the part that Jerry didn't like. It's that, I have to talk to your agent when we basically just got the deal done, in his opinion. But does it need to get to this point where months later still there's been no contact and you won't talk to the agent, and now we're sitting here in August and he requested a trade? No. So if we're going to talk about Micah being a problem in the locker room, where I think the players are supporting Micah. Usually when someone's a problem in the locker room, you think they don't like him. The players have been supportive of Micah. Then I think Jerry is just as big, actually bigger of a problem in that locker room than Micah is. Because Jerry's the one that is really creating the drama. And the way that I interpret this, and maybe I'm dead wrong, is that Micah just said enough is enough. I'm not dealing with the disrespect. So that's how I kind of look at it.
I don't disagree with you, and I think that's how most people are viewing it currently. But I think to Drew's point, there's a chance that Micah could now. Micah is like everyone is supporting Micah, right? Fans, players, teammates, everyone's like on Micah's side. But Micah has a chance to unfortunately flip it a little bit if he plays this wrong. Everyone agrees with you, I think, for the most part, that this is on Jerry and that Micah got screwed. But if Micah continues to get in there and, whisper in teammates' ears and have guys like talking smack about Jerry and the team and the franchise behind closed doors or in the public, he could end up becoming the villain because he breaks up the team and causes a divide in the locker room.
I have breaking news in the NFL.
We have breaking news on the Zach Gelb Show.
Cleveland Browns news. So Dylan Gabriel is dealing with the hamstring. We also know that Kenny Pickett has been dealing with an injury too. Shador Sanders, who said he had a sore arm, but he's good to go, has been dealing with something too. And then there's Joe Flacco. And, they signed Tyler Snoop Huntley, who did make the Pro Bowl once. The Cleveland Browns have announced, this is Tom Pelissero on the reporting, that for their first preseason game, Shador Sanders is going to start at quarterback. So Shador Sanders, Friday night at the Carolina Panthers, is going to start at quarterback. I am just seeing this now, so I don't have any other real information other than that. I do wonder if that means if Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel with their injuries are not available. That's just something I'm wondering. I don't have that as information. But we are going to see Shador start on Friday up against the Carolina Panthers. They're giving us a reason to watch the preseason. And just a little programming note, Monday and Tuesday of next week, I will be filling in for Andrew Perloff alongside with Maggie Gray and the Maggie and Perloff show. So you'll have me 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern time, many of these same stations next week, Monday and Tuesday. Ooh, Maggie's going to have a lot of takes off Shador's first start. I know that. All righty, we will take a timeout. We'll come on back on the Zach Gelb Show. We'll get to a news brief next. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Well, the Vikings will be down a receiver to start the season with Jordan Addison suspended 3 games for violating the NFL's substance abuse policy. The disciplinary action stems from a recent DUI incident that was resolved, with Addison pleading no contest to a lesser charge. The Rams have rewarded Pro Bowl running back Kyren Williams with a 3-year extension. The total package worth $33 million, $23 million of which is guaranteed. Next up, the Bills' James Cook. 32-year-old Teddy Bridgewater returning to the league, reportedly signing with the Buccaneers. He last played for the Lions in December of 2024, making a brief appearance during their playoff game. Zach Taylor said Joe Burrow and several starters will play a few series in their first preseason game against the Eagles. And recapping what Zach had just mentioned a couple of moments ago, the Browns announced that Shador Sanders will start their preseason opener. The Brewers are the best team in baseball and take a 4-game winning streak into tonight's matchup in Atlanta. Last night, it was Quinn Priester getting his 11th win tonight. 12-game winner Freddie Peralta takes the mound, while the Red Sox have won 6 in a row and look to extend that streak with their own 12-game winner, Garrett Crochet, to face the Royals. I'm Rich Acker.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
By the way, a big thank you to Dennis from our engineering team, by the way. Got to shout him out because my headphones were broken. My headphones were broken when the show started, and he came in as if he was on like the NASCAR pit crew with the drill in the middle of Act's update. You couldn't hear the drill on the air, and he fixed the headphone jack. It's incredible how he did that A snap of a finger, boom, executed to perfection. The engineering team, by the way, we have a good relationship with the engineering team. That's not always the case around here. But I think the engineering team and our show in particular, until Samter probably annoys them, they have a very good relationship right now. And it's been, anytime something's been broken as of late, they come on in, they fix it right away, and it's all good. And guess what? I think a lot of it is because, not going to name names here. There are some hosts, when things don't go well, they sit there and they yell on the air about the engineering problem. Sometimes you just ask nicely, right? The engineering team gladly walks in and boom, they fix things. And also that Steve Apria, we could do a whole show on him. I love Steve Apria. He may be one of my favorite people around here. He is a character. We may have to do a tell-all on the engineering staff one day. Like, bring them in one by one and just interview them. Apria will have stories that will literally last for hours. This portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. A.J. Brown, SiriusXM NFL Radio with Torrey Smith. Torrey Smith, I don't think he's a guy that likes me, if I'm being honest. He was very critical of me after my little incident with Deebo Samuel. He was basically just going after my interviewing skills. And you could say a lot about me. One thing you can't say in negative fashion is that I don't know how to interview. But here's A.J. Brown. He had a funny analogy about winning Super Bowl titles.
The process is still the same. I think I am very blessed and fortunate to achieve and to win the Super Bowl as a team. But, the process of the daily grind stays the same. And so once you kind of look at it through that lens, you just got to go back to work. All that stuff is over with, I like to say, the Lombardi, she's not loyal. She's not loyal. So we got to go. We got to do what we got to do it again, try to win her over again.
These Lombardis ain't loyal. Jaden Daniels talked to Evan Washburn, who has elite hair, by the way. Hickey, Evan Washburn, Tom Pelissero has good hair. There's one more NFL guy that we talk about. It's funny how we group Hickey in there. But Hickey, Pelissero, and Evan Washburn. That's some elite hair. But Evan Washburn did an interview with Jaden Daniels, and he talked to Jaden Daniels on the Terry McLaurin contract dispute.
Control what I can control. I know one day 17 will be running out here, and hopefully soon, but I can't control what he has going on with his business or, the front office, stuff like that. I got to go out there and try to be the best version of myself each and every day, and just hope one day it all gets resolved, and 17's back out here catching passes.
I think the James Cook conversation and that contract conversation is not that far away. I was reading the Diana Rossini report today, and they weren't expecting him to kind of do the whole hold-in situation after they had a conversation. I think that's James Cook saying, okay, we're really close. Let's get this thing over with, especially with Hard Knocks there. Micah Parsons, I think inevitably they'll get a deal done, but as to when, I don't know now with the latest approach that's been going on. Trey Hendrickson, there's been no updates ever since really he's shown up, so that's not encouraging. And then you got Terry McLaurin, and I think McLaurin wants to be there, but do I think he's getting $33 million a year? Absolutely not. So we'll see which dominoes are going to fall on those contract disputes. So Shedeur Sanders is going to start the first preseason game for the Browns on Friday night. Kenny Pickett is dealing with the hamstring injury. And Dylan Gabriel is dealing with the hamstring injury as well. This is Dylan Gabriel, NFL on CBS. His reaction to critics saying he's too small to play football.
It's no response, and I think a lot of people make something out of it, but the truth is the game of football, many people have done it, different shapes and sizes, all from different areas. The ultimate, team game that has a bunch of diversity, and that's what we love about it. So, for me, there's a bunch of quarterbacks that are playing at elite level that are, maybe similar heights. And I think for me, it's just people are going to talk about it until I do something. And for me, I haven't gotten on the field yet. So to be determined.
Yeah, we'll see what happens when you do get on the field. I was actually higher on Dylan Gabriel than most, but I think he's more of a backup than a starting quarterback in the NFL. Let's go back to Evan Washburn, CBS Sports. He was sitting with Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase has high praise for the Bengals offense in 2025.
I mean, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit always, every year. Defense getting better this year. Offense getting better this year. The first time where we really had a full me, Joe, T, all that practice during camp. And first time we actually had a great chemistry together and just feeling each other out and what to expect, when to expect it. I think it's going to be overall good, man. Just see how the season plays out. We got a good little schedule in front of us, too, so it'll be nice.
I have 4 questions with the Bengals entering this season. What is the defense going to look like? Is Trey Hendrickson going to be there? Can they get off to a quick start to the season? Because the last few years, that's been terrible. And they're playing their starters in the preseason game, so maybe that's a change. And they start the year with at Cleveland, Jacksonville, and at Minnesota. So bare minimum, they got to take 2 out of 3. And then also, can they stay healthy? Because Joe Burrow has dealt with quite a few injuries through the years. Let's go to Matt Collins. I'm just going to be honest. Matt Collins on my team, I wish him very well. He's a weird dude. He walks around with no shoes on. He does something now with his shirt, and it's all cut a different way, and I don't even know what the explanation was. And I actually texted our guy, Bryant McFadden, about this. Bryant McFadden did an interview with Matt Collins without shoes on, and Matt Collins revealed that he doesn't really use elevators. Listen up.
What about no elevators?
Yeah, no elevator, especially in season. Always stairs.
Huh? Why?
Because nobody gonna carry me where I gotta go.
So let's say you're on the 20th floor. Are you walking up 20 flights of stairs?
I think my record right now is 26. Yeah, to the top. I put on Many Man by 50 Cent.
And you listen, walking.
And I walk. I make sure everything is done.
So what are you doing with your luggage?
Oh, I don't carry anything but a backpack.
Huh?
I don't know. To each his own. I don't think Matt Collins and I are hanging out anytime soon. I hope he scores a lot of touchdowns this year. But you know when I was really out on Matt Collins? He got pitched to a ton of shows here at the network, coming in studio. And I was going to do the interview with him later that afternoon. And then I saw that he showed up barefoot to our studios. I think it was to do an interview with Maggie and Andrew in the morning. And he didn't have his shoes on. And he was talking about how he was walking around the streets of New York City without shoes on. I said to my team at the time, we got to cancel. I can't do the interview because I would sit there and I wouldn't be able to get over the fact that this dude just put his feet over the rat-infested streets of New York City, and he's going to sit there with no shoes on. It was just weird to me. So I had to bow out of that interview. So Matt Collins, may he score a lot of touchdowns this year. It's got to be a fly or something in this studio. I don't know what that was, a mosquito or something. Here we are talking about Matt Collins walking with his with no shoes in the rat-infested streets of New York City. And then as I said that, like a mosquito or something just bit me right in the ankle. What the heck is going on around today?
Headphones, flies.
I just want to show up to work.
Is it too hot?
And it's perfect, 66 degrees. If you ask Act that question, he'll say it's freezing. But I just want to show up to work and have everything work and not have a fly or a mosquito bite me. I just want a clean environment where the equipment works. Is that too much to ask for? You know what? It's perfect that I'm going on vacation tomorrow. I'm going to Banff. I'm out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll be back with Maggie and Andrew. Or just Maggie, no Andrew, on Monday and Tuesday. Back in this time slot on Wednesday. We'll take a time out. We'll come on back. We're talking more college football next. And my shoes are on if anyone's wondering.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling. Hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. Coming up at 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll do a little overreaction, proper reaction. We'll delve back into the top 25 from the coaches poll that was released the other day in just a second. But two things of note, just real quickly. They're minor things before we get to what we really want to talk about here. Over the weekend, I watched something that I haven't watched in a very long time. Stu, any guesses as to what I watched on Sunday that I have not watched for a very long time?
I was going to say the Hall of Fame ceremony, but that was on Saturday, so that would not be on Sunday.
It was not the Hall of Fame ceremony.
Is it sports related?
Kind of. Depends who you ask. I would say yes, it is sport related.
Was it a NASCAR race?
It was not NASCAR. I would consider NASCAR a sport, just to be clear.
Somewhat.
To our national audience, I don't want anyone saying, that's Zach Gelb, with the NASCAR, he didn't like him. No, I like NASCAR. I like when we have the NASCAR drivers on. Denny Hamlin, very enjoyable. Joey Logano, I didn't like that he didn't come in the studio, but that wasn't his fault. It was his team's fault. But I thought he was a good interview with us. So Chase Briscoe that we've had on, I like when we get the NASCAR guys in. Sam, do you want to take a guess as to what I watched on Sunday that I have not watched in a very long time?
Real Housewives of New Jersey.
No. I don't think that has come back yet. But you actually sent me this over as a topic. Wasn't today. It was yesterday. You sent it over as a topic. And when I was perusing the topics, I said, oh, I wasn't expecting Samter to put this on the potential topic sheet. Does that help you?
It does. I'm assuming it has something to do with Brock Lesnar, John Cena, and maybe Cody Rhodes?
Yeah.
SummerSlam action?
So, my timeline. I grew up when I was in elementary school. Then, like 7th grade, that's when I kind of gave it up. But I was a wrestling fan. I met John Cena as a kid. I met Batista as a kid. I loved The Undertaker. I hated JBL. I loved 619 with Rey Mysterio. May he rest in peace. I actually was a big fan of Eddie Guerrero. Actually, this is going to be really morbid. I always knew wrestling was scripted.
No, it's not.
I always knew wrestling was scripted. I'm trying to power through. That was actually very funny. And when it was announced that Eddie Guerrero tragically passed away, I thought it wasn't true. Like, I thought they were opening the show with they did like an on-air presentation or remembrance of Eddie Guerrero. And I thought eventually he was going to come back at some point during the episode, but he actually did pass away. So those are my favorite wrestlers. We always, as kids, the Walls of Jericho was always a popular move. So I was a fan of Chris Jericho as well. So those are my favorite wrestlers. But I love Cena. I think it was during a WrestleMania when Cena defeated JBL. I think that's what it was. Where that was like, I remember that was like the first pay-per-view I think I actually bought. But through time, I just, wasn't a big fan of wrestling. Some people are. If it is, still something you love, God bless you. I'm not criticizing you. I'm not going to be like Marash down the hall, who when Marash was here, all he did was trash wrestling, by the way. And now he's dressing up as wrestlers, right? He would get into it with Taz here. Like, Taz didn't even allow people to mention the name Mraz on his show because that's how much Marash and Taz didn't get along while Taz was working here. And now Marash, I don't want to say he's a wrestling guy, but I see him commenting on wrestling a lot in a positive way. But for some reason on my timeline, all I saw was SummerSlam this, SummerSlam that, John Cena's final SummerSlam. I know this is the farewell tour. I think it ends at some point in December. And I go, wow, like that was a really memorable part of my childhood. Was like growing up watching John Cena and him come onto the scene. And I remember meeting him and all the wrestling matches. I'm like, okay, I have Peacock. I don't have to pay any extra. I tuned in for SummerSlam when I was making dinner. And I watched the entirety of the fight with Cody Rhodes and John Cena, and I thought it was good. And then you had Brock Lesnar come back, and then that turned into a whole big deal with lawsuits and everything like that. And I'm like, all right, I'm not in the weeds of this. I don't really know what's going on. But seeing John Cena wrestle another time, I thought was cool. But I was very surprised about me watching wrestling over the weekend. And I know how much of a niche audience it is and how crazy, and I kind of mean this in a good way, but then some way in a bad way, the wrestling community is. So I did tune in, and I was not expecting to watch that, but I did end up watching that on Sunday. I had something else that I was going to bring up too. Oh, Stu, you're a fantasy guy. You're a fantasy baseball guy. I know that.
I am, yes.
We talk about how we both have Mizorowski, who's dealing with a little bit of an injury, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that bad. A tibia injury. And then we share a love for Scooby-Dooby-Doo with Tarek Skubal, as we've been longtime owners of Tarek Skubal. Fantasy? Are you a big fantasy football guy?
I am, and ironically, you said that because my slow draft for my Dynasty League started yesterday.
It is crazy when you bring something up and you don't know what I'm going to ask you. And what you said,
all right,
a slow draft, right?
Yes.
So I'm in my home league, and then my home friends, 2 of them went to Michigan. I became friendly with a lot of their friends that went to Michigan, and we've had some other friends add in that group. We are starting year 1 of a Dynasty League. Now, you draft these players, and it's not like you just keep 4 or 5. You keep the whole roster,
team. Yes.
and then you just draft rookies the next year.
Yes.
So when I'm going away on vacation tomorrow, I wasn't expecting to have to draft because we set a date in September that was good for everyone, and then someone got married, and his honeymoon is ending up on that weekend, and you can't be drafting at a honeymoon. Let's be real. So they have this slow draft. Now, is that only through Sleeper?
Yes, that is what I use. I believe it's only through Sleeper.
So if I'm understanding this right, this draft is going to last probably several weeks, and there's a certain allotted time that you get.
Yeah.
So there's a maximum. I don't think everyone's going to take 8 hours, but it's to fit everyone's busy schedule where, okay, you're on the clock, you have the first pick. If you have the first pick, you shouldn't need to take 8 hours, but you do have like 8 hours or so to make that decision. So you could just kind of come and go whenever you get up, you make the pick, or whenever you have 5 seconds, whether you're on vacation and you're like showering and getting ready, or you get out of work, you could just make the pick. And that's how this whole draft goes.
It is, yes. So we are in our 3rd year. So about 2 years ago, either 2 or 3 years ago.
So you're only drafting like the rookies
this
now.
year. We're only drafting the rookies.
How many rounds?
4.
Okay, so you're doing a slow draft for just 4 rounds of the rookies.
Yes.
I'm doing 30 rounds of a slow draft for the entirety. I think it's for the whole team.
I think we knocked it out in like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks when we did it a few years ago, but it certainly takes a little bit.
I'm starting to realize these fantasy leagues are now a commitment.
Oh, yeah.
I used to just like when you pick up your roster in the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year, your roster's done, and then you do a new draft the next year. Now, I'm in a keeper fantasy baseball league, which is a commitment. And I didn't really know what I was signing up for in this Dynasty League. I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And I even said to one of my buddies, I wish I kind of didn't do this already. Before the draft, we're doing a slow draft. I'm going to be in Banff. I have a bear probably chasing after me, my bear spray out, and I'm going to have to make a pick within 8 hours or something like that. Like, come on, what are we doing? So I had to ask you about that, but I'm glad that you knew, and I had a feeling that you would know about Dynasty Leagues and slow draft. Do you like the Dynasty League?
I do. It's fun. I like being able to keep the same players from year to year.
Yeah.
And
it's tricky, though, because like the draft, we're doing it from scratch. Older players, it's not really good to draft them.
No.
So, like, in most leagues, right, I don't know, Saquon Barkley you would think would be a top 5 pick. Not that Saquon Barkley is ancient, but for running back, he's getting up there in age. Like, him and Derrick Henry, probably not a good idea to draft him early, right?
Yeah, and in my league, I have Derrick Henry, who was great last year, and I kind of toyed with, should I trade him now and get some future assets? I wound up keeping him, but yeah, it has a strategy to it as well.
So there's probably a lot of trades in the middle of the season. If you're not in it, okay, let me go trade some of my older players, the people that are in it, and they go try to win a championship for the next year.
Right, exactly.
Gotcha. So I've never been involved in a dynasty league. So I'm losing my dynasty league virginity, I guess is the way to politely say that. What a sports show this is, I'll tell you that. Okay, college football top 25 came out yesterday for the coaches poll. I gave you this and some of my reactions earlier. Texas 1, Ohio State 2, Penn State 3, Georgia 4, Notre Dame 5, Clemson 6, Oregon, quack, 7, Alabama, Roll Tide 8, LSU with the Tiger family in at number 9, Miami with the Canes at 10, Arizona State 11. Forks up, forks down, Samter. You're a forks up guy, not a forks down guy?
Always a forks up guy.
Okay, just making sure. 12, Illinois, South Carolina, 13, Michigan, 14, Ole Miss, 15, SMU, 16, Florida, 17, Tennessee, 18, Indiana, 19, Kansas State, 20, A&M, Aggieland in at 21, Iowa State also in at 21, BYU, 23, Texas Tech, 24, and Boise State in at 25. Let's go around the room. Give me a team whose ranking you're buying and whose ranking you are selling. I will start off with Stu. Give me a team that you are buying going into this season.
I am going to side with our guy, Hot Take Hickey, and I'm going to say Penn State, ranked at number 3. I think they could have even been number 2, if we're being honest, going into this poll. I just think they're going to be really good. I think they did a lot last year to kind of, I guess the critics were all over James Franklin, rightfully so. Now it's time for Drew Aller to kind of, they need to win 11 games and win multiple playoff games, but I think they could do it. They obviously have the great running attack as well, a lot of great players on defense, but I do like their team a lot this year.
Yeah, Texas was 1, Ohio State was 2, Penn State was 3. I'm with you, Stu. I actually thought Penn State was going to be 1 here, and if they weren't 1, I said, okay, they would have been 2, but they put Texas and Ohio State in front of them. Samter, who is a team that you are buying?
I mean, I don't get to do this often. I don't get to say this often, so I'm going to go with it. You asked about the forks up or the forks down. I'm going with ASU at 11. The Big 12 is not that great. There's a lot of change there in that conference. I think that ASU has one of the best returning quarterbacks in the entire country. They've got Jordan Tyson healthy. They've got a really, really good, stout defense. People are buying into Kenny Dillingham. They brought in some good recruits and transfers. I think ASU is like the cream of the crop in the Big 12 right now. So I think that as long as Sam Leavitt shows the type of advancement that we thought that he was going to have, they're going to be a really, really good team. So I think that I'm buying them at 11.
You look at the Big 12, Kansas State is a team that I think can cause some problems for them. Baylor is also a team that I think could also contend as well. So, but you are right. The Big 12, and we saw this last year, it's a good conference. I don't know if there's any great teams, and they beat up on one another. Because the first 5-6 weeks of the season, you're sitting there and you go, oh, wow, the Big 12 is loaded. And then towards the end of the season, there's a lot of walking wounded bodies there. And Iowa State's also another team that I think could contend this year. But, yeah, the favorite going into this season is obviously Arizona State. And I think their ranking is fair sitting there at 11. And, maybe they'll be a top 10 team towards the end of the season. But you look at their schedule.
It's not easy.
Well, yes and no. Because, like last year, who thought Kansas at the end of the season with the season that they were going to be having was going to upset Colorado in the way that they did? And Kansas had a few upsets. But there's really only 3 games that I circle with Arizona State. Baylor on September 20th. I then also circle Utah on October 11th. And I'm kind of on the fence on Utah. I don't really know what to expect out of Utah this season. But I do think Whittingham towards the end of the road there, he's going to get those folks bouncing back. And then Iowa State on November 1st. Like Mississippi State in week 2. Mississippi State was terrible last year.
They need to win that game.
Northern Arizona, Texas State, Cupcake U. And TCU, this is a big year for Sonny Dykes. Texas Tech, you know what? They're an underrated team this year. I like McGuire and I like their quarterback.
Yeah. You know that they've brought in a bunch of guys.
I don't know what to expect out of Houston. I don't know what to expect with Rich Rod. I don't know what to expect out of Coach Prime, and Arizona hasn't been good. So it's like, that schedule, yes, because of it's the fact that it's the Big 12, and all these teams are, like the team at the bottom of the Big 12 could beat the team at the top on a random November day. That's for sure. I don't know if that's going to happen in the SEC or the Big 10. I'm not saying the Big 12 is better. I'm absolutely not doing that. Let me just be abundantly clear.
But you heard it here first, everybody. Zach Gelb thinks the Big 12 is better than the Big 10.
Yeah, no, the views of Michael Sam do not reflect the views of the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. But it's like for Arizona State, they definitely had the most pressure on them in the Big 12 going into this year. Because if they don't get back to the Big 12 championship game and win it, it's going to be viewed as a disastrous season where they could be second or third in the Big 12, record-wise have a really good year, but then get edged out by a Baylor or, an Iowa State, just throwing 2 teams out there. All right, the team I'm buying, Notre Dame. I look at Notre Dame. I know they lose Xavier Watts. I know Morrison was out last year, but now he's off to the NFL. That secondary is still loaded. That defense is still really damn good, even though they lost Todd Golden to the NFL. Now he's back with Cincinnati being their defensive coordinator. But offensively, Notre Dame always have a good offensive line. Their wide receiver room is better this year. That kid Greathouse was awesome in the national championship game. You got Faison, who is the dual sport star. But you look at Notre Dame, Love is one of the better players in the country, but their quarterback position, Stu, you're Notre Dame. I'm assuming it's going to be Carr, right?
I think it's going to be Carr. Now, they have another guy, Kenny Minchie, who has like another year. Like he's a sophomore. Carr's a redshirt freshman. Minchie's a sophomore. Kind of more of a dual threat guy, but I think they like Carr more.
Yeah, I think it's going to be CJ Carr, and Carr to me is an upgrade over Riley Leonard. Now, their schedule, Notre Dame, it's a brutal start to the season. They open up the season at Miami, and then they followed up with A&M, who last year Notre Dame walked into Aggieland, and they defeated they defeated A&M to open up the season before then losing to NIU the next week. Now, this game is at South Bend this time, but last year you went to their turf and got a victory. Maybe it's different this year. Those first two games of the season, Stu, do you think they could win both, or are you thinking split?
I think they could win both. I think you kind of go into that thinking don't lose both. Because obviously that would totally derail the season. So
you're still pessimistic? You still always expect the worst with Notre Dame?
I think those are the two toughest games on their schedule. And I think if they win if they split those games, they'll be fine. They'll win 10 games.
Yeah, I think that they can win both. Put it this way. Do you think it's more likely they win both or lose both?
I think it's more likely they win both.
So do I. But in reality, they probably do split. Miami, I know Miami's we'll get to Miami in a bit. They're in they're in this they're top 10, right, on this ranking?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I know Miami has a lot of talent. There's also a lot of questions with Miami, especially with their coach and their quarterback. But with that being said, Miami A&M is difficult to start off the season. Then you play Purdue. Then you're at Arkansas. Then you get Boise State. Boise State's a really good team still. And then it eases up. NC State. You play USC. I'm not expecting much from the Trojans this year, but it's a rivalry. You're at Boston College. You play Navy. You're at Pitt. You have Syracuse. And you're at Stanford. So the schedule is tougher for Notre Dame. With that being said, though, I think the way that Notre Dame is built, this team could actually be better from a talent standpoint than the team that they just had a year ago. So I am buying Notre Dame. I would also like to make one honorable mention. Clemson. Clemson at 6. I'm buying Clemson. I'm actually surprised Clemson's not in the top 5. I think Clemson is very, very, very good. I believe they'll win the ACC, and I don't think you need to be great to win a national championship. I think you could just be very good and win the national championship, like what we saw at times last year out of Ohio State. All right, let's go to teams that we're selling. We will start off with Samter. Samter, who is the team that you are selling?
All right, I think I'm going to get ripped to shreds for this one, but I am.
You're selling Temple with KC Keeler?
Does Temple even have a football team anymore?
Okay, that's not nice. We play Oklahoma this season.
Over under 90 points that you lose by.
Oh, I would take the under on that.
Oh, okay.
90?
86 points?
I would still take the under.
John Mateer, 26 touchdowns on the day.
Hey, Oklahoma's not in the top 25 in the coaches poll.
Just wait till you see what they do to Temple.
That could be 60-14, though.
Yeah.
It could be. Just 90. I'm going to have some respect for my alma mater. I am a recognized, distinguished alumni of the university. So I have to, in some way put a little owl spin on it. Okay, who's the team you're selling, though?
I am selling on Georgia. Whew. Not that they're not going to be a playoff team or playoff caliber team.
They're ranked 4th. Yeah.
They're ranked 4th. They lost 13 players to the draft. They lost both their starting safeties, their entire interior offensive line, 2 guards and a center, their top 2 wide receivers, their number 1 running back, their top 7 sack makers of the season. The top player on their team that was on the team last year in sacks had 2 sacks. Mm-hmm. Who's back now? That's Gabe Harris Jr. They lost their starting quarterback. You can say what you want to say about Carson Beck, but is Gunnar Stockton really an upgrade over Carson Beck? I don't know. And then you say, okay, well, you know what, though? They lost all these guys. They're going to be fine in recruiting. They're going to be fine in transfers. Yeah, they were good in recruiting. They were 12th in the SEC in transfers this year. They were 22nd in college football in transfers this year. So it wasn't like they replenished their cupboard with all the guys that they lost. Their big transfer, Josh McCray, running back from Illinois, hasn't even been at practice yet. No one knows where he is. He could be sick. He could be injured. He could just be missing. Nobody knows. And they also lost Damon Wilson, who was the number 3 rated overall prospect in the transfer portal. He went to Missouri, the number 1 overall edge rusher in all of college football in the portal. They lost a ton, and they didn't pick up a lot.
They also had the 2nd overall ranked recruiting class. Transfers 22, but second overall too.
But 2nd overall ranked, those were all freshmen. And how many of those freshmen are going to play? So we're looking at sophomores, juniors, and seniors. The team has not been replenished, especially after losing 13 guys. They're going to be good. They're probably going to make the playoffs. They might even play for the SEC championship game. They're not going to be ranked in the top 6, top 7.
Let me ask you a question, though, going off this. Gun to your head, who wins the SEC this year?
Texas.
Stu?
Texas.
I would go Georgia. Because what did I sit here and hear all last year? Vulnerabilities with Georgia. Oh, Georgia's not that good. Right? Midway through the season. Before the season, different story. Midway through the season. All I heard was how vulnerable Georgia was. Georgia still ended up winning the SEC championship a year ago. Now, Texas, right, has Arch Manning. So let's see if that's the difference. But until someone knocks off, to me, they're like the Chiefs right now. Until someone knocks them off in the SEC, I'm going to, like what the Chiefs are in the AFC, I'm going to keep on picking the Chiefs and Georgia.
It just seems like all the other teams around them got better. Lenore Sellers has another year. Alabama should be better in year 2 and Kellen DeBoer. Texas. It just feels like everyone got better. There were questions already last year about Georgia, and it feels like Georgia got worse.
Stu, who's a team that you're selling?
I am going to sell the Miami Hurricanes at number 10. I think a lot of it is that I'm not a huge Carson Beck guy, especially after what we saw from him last year at Georgia. And you had Cam Ward, who was the best quarterback in the sport last year, and they really weren't able to do anything. So you bring in Beck. I know they were okay in the recruiting trail, but look at the schedule, too. We mentioned the Notre Dame game to start. They also have Florida at Florida State, which is obviously a rivalry game. They have Louisville, SMU, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh. Like, just some very losable games in there. I just don't see this team as a top 10 team and a team that is a playoff team. I just don't see it.
All right, here's the team that I'm selling. Let's hear from Marcus Spears. He was on Get Up on ESPN talking about the team that I'm about to sell.
LSU is in that window now where if you don't win big, if you're Brian Kelly, this fan base is done. And I'm just telling you, the wins and the success and all of the things, going to the SEC championship, your first year was great, but people still didn't feel like that was like a big-time accomplishment based on how it happened. This year, you see all of the transfers. You see the recruiting class. Garrett Nussmeier in the preseason Heisman conversation. All of those things in the past at LSU has aligned with them having big seasons. It doesn't guarantee a championship, but it should guarantee you being a playoff contender. And if they are not, if they on the outside looking in the playoffs, this fan base is going to turn quickly on Brian Kelly. And it's almost like it's been situations where they've been waiting to do it. This will be that inflection point if LSU doesn't win big this year.
I think if LSU makes the playoff, they may be the last team in. And, maybe that will end up being 11th, even though there's 12 teams that get in because of Group of 5 and, the other conference rankings and all that. But I don't think they're the 9th best team in the country. And that's why I'm selling them. And you look at their first 3 games of the season. Louisiana Tech, all right, that's cupcake. But they start off at Clemson. And then you play a Florida team who I'm iffy about. But we know the potential with DJ Lagway. Then after that, they play Southeast Louisiana, okay, easy. Then they're at Ole Miss. I don't know what to expect out of Ole Miss this year. They play South Carolina. South Carolina played better football at the end of the season last year than LSU did. Then they're at Vanderbilt. Okay, that I'm not concerned. Then they have A&M and at Alabama in a 3-week stretch, but it's back-to-back games for them. Then you play Arkansas, Western Kentucky, and then at Oklahoma to end the year, and Oklahoma's supposed to be good. So the first 3 weeks of the season, if LSU wants to show me something, they got to beat Clemson, and then they got to beat Florida. If they win both of those games, I'll be like, wow, LSU's a player. But if they lose to Clemson and then beat Florida, it's like, okay. I think they got to take both. And then you lose one of them, then you're not obviously eliminated, but then you don't have much wiggle room. Like 2 losses, you should be good. You get to 3 losses, that's where you start to get uncomfortable in this 12-team playoff. All righty, we'll take a timeout on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll come on back. The Bills open up with Hard Knocks tonight. Who's the team that you would have liked to have seen on Hard Knocks instead of the Bills? We'll actually bump overreaction, proper reaction to 5:40 p.m. Eastern time because we're running a little late here. We'll come on back after these short messages.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Hard Knocks is back tonight. Clearly, there will be a lot about Josh Allen and Sean McDermott. I think our guy, Deion Dawkins, is going to shine in Hard Knocks. I'm assuming they're going to do a lot about the return of Tre'Davious White as well. And probably all of Hard Knocks with the Bills is about, can they finally climb and get to the tippy top of the mountain? Because for the last few years, they've been getting close to putting their hand right on the top of the mountain and jumping up and screaming victory. But right when they get there, you have Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce smacking that hand off the top of the mountain, and then you fall to the death of your football season, and then you got to try to climb back up and get ready to climb that mountain again. And I'm also curious how they're going to detail the James Cook contract situation. And in the editing, is that more of a next week storyline, or is it a this week storyline with how just the other day or right over the weekend, that's when he started to say, okay, I'm going to hold in, even though he was going through all those drills. And the teams have control of all this. Like, Stu, when the Raiders were on it, we were waiting to see what was actually going to be shown with Antonio Brown. And if memory serves, he got like into a fight with Mike Mayock, who was trying to fight him. And then there was a lot about his feet. You know, not like the Matt Collins feet situation, because that's just weird where he's walking around. But he went on some trip, and wasn't it like, what was it called?
Cryo chamber, I think it was called.
Cryo chamber therapy.
Yeah.
And didn't he do it in like a foreign part? Right? It wasn't in America.
Yeah.
And he got the frostbite. So it was a lot about Antonio Brown's feet and all that. So, but I don't remember that being as juicy as what I thought it could have been on Hard Knocks, because the Raiders actually control pretty much everything that was being shown. Like, do you remember that being juicy?
No, not really at all, honestly.
Yeah.
It was as a Raiders fan who was interested in seeing it, I was pretty disappointed by it.
Like, Hard Knocks, I don't complain about Hard Knocks because it's an appetizer to the football season. There have been some bad Hard Knocks, though, as of late. Last year it was the Jets, right? That was somewhat interesting. I don't think it was great, but I thought it was interesting. The Lions one, I thought it was better in social media clips. I don't think it was spectacular. Oh, no, actually, the Jets weren't last. Wasn't it the Bears last year? Why did I think the Jets were on? Maybe the Jets were on Hard Knocks Aaron Rodgers' first year. That's what it was. Where you had that guy Oz or Oz, whatever he says, the mentalist. Yeah, it was the Jets were 2 years ago. The Bears were last year. Outside of Matt Eberflus's haircut, I don't think there was really anything much memorable about Hard Knocks. The Lions one was okay in small doses. The Cowboys one in 2021 was a bore. Chargers and Rams, you're just happy to watch something in 2020. And the Raiders one in 2019 was like, really, the last good one was the Browns. When you had Hugh Jackson basically fighting with Todd Haley, and you had Bob Wiley. Kind of sound like Drew Pearson. But anyway, if we didn't have the Bills, and I think the Bills fans will somewhat make Hard Knocks. I think it'll be okay. I don't think it's going to be great. But if the Bills weren't on Hard Knocks, Stu, who's a team that you would have loved to have seen on Hard Knocks for this upcoming season?
I think mine would be the Steelers. You have Aaron Rodgers in his first season, coming over. I think that would have been a very interesting storyline, obviously. And Tomlin with Rodgers, plus you bring in DK Metcalf, TJ Watt just signing his contract. I think that would have been an intriguing one, mostly because of Rodgers.
Yeah, and how about DK Metcalf? We'll get to it in overreaction, prop reaction, but he was basically saying how this is the best defense he's ever seen. And then George Pickens, I don't think this really made the rounds, but I saw it on 105.3 The Fan. He goes, it's nice to be in a place that has a winning culture. And I'm like, dude, you're just in Pittsburgh. I know that the standard in Pittsburgh has fallen because they haven't won a playoff game since 2016, but the Cowboys haven't been to an NFC Championship game or a Super Bowl since 1995. What are you talking about? So, okay, the Steelers, yeah, I'm kind of just tired of all the Rodgers stuff. And Tomlin and you'll get all these expressions and sayings. But, yeah, sure, with Metcalf and the TJ Watt contract stuff, maybe I'm a little bit intrigued there. Samter, who would yours be?
It's pretty obvious. It's the little Dallas Cowboys with all the drama that's going on. Mm-hmm. I can't not want to see it.
The only reason that I'm going to just object to that one, we basically see all the drama anyway. Even when the Cowboys don't have Hard Knocks, what owner holds press conferences like this? And you might, what else do I need to see?
But see, that's the thing is we talked about this just now about how we've been to all these different camps that had drama, but we didn't get to see any of the drama because the team controlled it. The Cowboys, with the drama that's going on, Micah would find a way to get behind a camera. Jerry's going to get in front of the camera. Yeah. There's going to be fireworks because they're going to control it to make it be fireworks because that's what the Cowboys are.
Well, Jerry would try to control it to make Micah look bad. And with the way that Jerry reads the room these days, I don't know if he would control that.
The last time there was a good one was, not good one, but the best one ever, obviously, was the Jets and Rex Ryan. Let's go get a damn snack.
Yeah, GD snack. That was actually shot because they were going to Hofstra that day. That was shot in my bar mitzvah party room. Where you go to the party afterwards, the hotel that they were staying at in the ballroom, that's where I had my bar mitzvah.
That's a whole other story. I need to see Zach Gelb bar mitzvah pictures.
Yeah, I walked in with, as every bar mitzvah boy does, with two smoking hot chicks. And I came out to the song of, it was DMX, Party Up. That was my bar mitzvah entrance with Howie Rose broadcasting a home run that I hit in the World Series with David Wright and Jose Reyes as my teammates to walk off with a 3-run shot in the World Series up against the New York Yankees. We could play that one day. I have the audio somewhere. I think, Cairo said, Damon going back, he falls down. Matsui going back, he trips over Damon, and this ball is gone. It was a great call by Howie Rose.
Well, I like how they tripped over each other. It would have had no impact because the ball was a home run anyway.
Well, they were trying to rob the home run. Yeah. That's what it was. The team here that I would actually like to see is a team that I bitch about a lot. I can't stand Tyreek Hill. Put cameras in front of him, he'll be a jackass. Even when cameras aren't in front of him, he's a jackass. Mike McDaniel, I don't know what planet that guy's on. And you got Tua, who was already basically saying we got to hold Tyreek Hill accountable, which I appreciate. And also you have a lot of sensitive Dolphins players. Remember, Vic Fangio was the problem in Miami. You had that turn out. Vic Fangio won a Super Bowl. What did you guys do last year? So I wouldn't mind actually seeing, even though they were on, I believe, Hard Knocks not that long ago. I think it was in season. I wouldn't mind seeing the Dolphins in the offseason on Hard Knocks. All right, we'll come on back with overreaction, proper reaction. Here's with the latest update, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the Browns have a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of injuries, so it is Shedeur Sanders getting the call as the starter for the team's first preseason game. Also, a veteran quarterback, obviously always in demand. Case in point, Teddy Bridgewater, who's giving the NFL another shot, reportedly signing with the Buccaneers. Jordan Addison's DUI was recently resolved. It'll cost him the first 3 games of the season. He was suspended by the NFL for violating the league's substance abuse policy. And Kyron Williams gets paid while James Cook waits for his payday. The Rams have come to terms with their Pro Bowl running back on a 3-year extension worth $33 million, $23 million of which is guaranteed. Zach Taylor isn't afraid of the preseason. The Bengals coach said Joe Burrow and some starters will play a few series in their opener against the Eagles. The Red Sox have once again vaulted into contention, currently holding the top wild card in the AL. They have won 6 in a row after taking the series opener from the Royals and will come back tonight with 12-game winner Garrett Crochet in Game 2 of the series. Freddie Peralta goes for his 13th win of the season when the Brewers try to extend their winning streak to 5 in Atlanta. They're now 3 games up on the Cubs, who will host the Reds. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break.